Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at a band called Hot Sunday Blood. Never heard of them before, so I had to do a little bit of research. I actually spoke directly to the band and they were kind enough to fill me in with a short sort of bio and also the lyrics to the track that I'm about to look at. So the band, Hot Sunday Blood, is an Italian band formed in Turin in 2013. The band's sound is inspired by alternative rock with heavier influences. Each member of the band comes from a different musical background, such as metal, stoner, grunge, black metal, prog, and new wave. And each of these members coming from these backgrounds affects the band's sound in their own unique way. And the band is described as appealing to fans of a wide variety of musical tastes, from Mastodon, Queens of the Stone Age to Alice in Chains and Smashing Pumpkins. So it's quite a bit of a variety going on there. Now, the track we're going to look at today is called Long Winter's Embrace, and this comes off their latest album called Kein Licht, which means no light. And the album was released December last year, and is a concept album about losing hope. It's a sort of journey through the psychological elements of the human condition, and is told through the eyes of a young woman. And this album is the first of a two-part project, apparently. So yeah, the track we're looking at is called Long Winter's Embrace, and as I said, the band were kind enough to supply me with some lyrics. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what this is like. I mean, there's no specific genre of music specified, but they have put in a lot of what their influences are, and there's quite a variation. So this could be very interesting. So we'll see what we get, shall we? So, Long Winter's Night by Hot Sunday Blood.
Stars are not so safe in desperate night.
Oh wow. Okay. That was that was a bit unexpected right at the end. With tribute to uh, Keith Flynn, Chester Bennington, and Chris Cornell. That was quite a bit of a revelation right at the end there. Now, but then it does go in with the actual meaning behind the song. Now, first of all, I'm going to say that was a brilliant track. You know, it was very interesting. I mean, it started off with a more sort of rocky feel and seemed to get progressively more aggressive towards the end of the song. You know, it's very, very good, very heavy, and you know, you could really hear the chugging of the guitars and the bass guitar in there. It was fantastic, very, very interesting. I was yeah, very pleasantly surprised by that. Now, the song itself is about depression. And like I said at the beginning, you know, the album itself is investigating the psychology of the human condition, you know, and the album itself is about losing hope and stuff like that. So, you know, kind of makes sense that the subject of this song is depression. And it's quite interesting the way they've worded it as well. Now, the lyrics to the song go: stars are not so safe in desperate nights. Thoughts are so confused in my lonely goodbye. People prefer darkness to recover their souls. Smoke becomes a fury that spits out of their clothes. I'm not sure what that line's supposed to mean there. So, you know, stars are not so safe on desperate nights. Thoughts are so confused in my lonely goodbye. People prefer darkness to recover their souls. So, I mean, there's that line there. People prefer darkness to recover their souls, and I know I do this when I'm, you know, I suffer from quite severe depression at times, and when I find myself in that situation, I tend to close myself off. I sort of lock myself away and end up sitting in a darkened room by myself, you know, to try and get myself over it, you know, because I don't want to have that interaction with people because it's just too much. So maybe that's what that's referring to. Uh, Came into the well, I think we can consider it a chorus, but it changes each time it's actually sung. It says, "Come to me, she burns my eyes. Dreams are collapsing, you're searching to die. Nobody walks on my side. Lower and lower, and blinded by fear, nobody sees through my eyes." So dreams are collapsing, you're searching to die. It's a typical thing with depression, you know. When you're in that sort of state of mind, you know, everything's sort of falling apart around you, or you feel everything is falling apart around you, you know. Everything you ever wanted to do just seems impossible, you know, so essentially your dreams are collapsing. And searching to die, you know, it's not an uncommon thing with people with like major depression, you know, wanting to look for a way out, and unfortunately, in a number of times, this does lead to suicide, which is a very unfortunate thing, but it does happen. And it says, "Nobody walks on my side, lower and lower, and blinded by fear, nobody sees through my eyes." And it says, "Nobody walks by my side," you know, so you feel completely alone in situations like that, you know, you feel like you're all alone in what you're doing. And, you know, sometimes, like with myself, I do shut myself off from everybody, I distance myself from everybody. But I tend to do that because, you know, it's easier for me because, well, I'm not going to go into it, but it says lower and lower and blinded by fear. So, you know, you get more and more depressed. You sort of sink further and further into this blackness. And there's that line there, "No one sees through my eyes." It's like nobody seems to understand what you're going through in that moment. Because all too often you get things like when someone says they're feeling depressed, you get people that are just like, well, cheer up or get over it. It doesn't work that way. You know, no one can understand what you're going through. And these people that just say, "get over it" or "cheer up," you know, they're not helping. They're actually making it a lot worse because they don't seem to care that you're actually suffering or struggling. You know, they can't see what it is that's, you know, how it's affecting you. They're just like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to listen to this. Just get over it. You know, deal with it. Cheer up." It's not that easy. And it really pisses me off when people say that. You know, it annoys the hell out of me. But anyway, He carries on. A new disease, collapse of mankind. Evil now grows inside. We have a fortress of lies. They say we're not alone tonight. Creating agony. Beasts from the ground. Pills. Come to me. We are so lonely in exterior life. And then it goes into another version of that chorus, but deeply, grey burns my eyes. Dreams are collapsing, you're searching to die. Nobody walks on my side. Lower and lower, and blinded by fear, no one can save me this time. And then it went into... It was a spoken bit, but the actual voice was very distorted. It was actually quite hard to make out through the headphone. And it said, depression is a mood disorder characterized by persistently low mood and a feeling of sadness and loss of interest. It is a persistent problem, not a passing one. And that, just that last bit there, is exactly what I was talking about before. It's a persistent problem, not a passing one. It's not a fleeting emotion. It's not something that you can just decide to get over. It's not something where you can, go out and do something and it will totally alleviate the depression. It doesn't work that way. Depression is a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's very difficult to adjust that. And, it is a mood disorder characterized by persistently low mood and feeling of sadness and loss of interest. And that's true. Sometimes, people with depression, they can't even get themselves out of bed in the morning. It's not because they're lonely. They just physically can't bring themselves to do it. They don't want to face the world when they're feeling in such a bad way. It's just the onslaught of the world at large. It's just too much for them to cope with because they've got so much weighing on their mind already. They can't deal with it. Excuse me. And you just sort of, you find yourself in a situation where nothing holds your attention. Like for me, I absolutely love music. I can't live without music. I have music on all day, every day. No matter what I'm doing, there is music playing. But I get these days where even music just doesn't do anything. I'll be, if I'm in one of my really dark places, music doesn't help in any way. I've lost all interest in the one of the major passions of my life. So things are bad when the thing that you're most passionate about just sort of doesn't hold any interest for you. Then went back into the track. Pills come to me, grey burns my eyes. Dreams are collapsing, you're searching to die. Nobody walks by my side. Lower and lower, and blinded by fear. No one can save me. No one can save me this year. So, it's a great song. I like the way it's worded. It's very interestingly worded. And it was, it was brilliantly performed. It was nothing at all like what I was expecting. There was... The music itself was very, very good. Very, very interesting. It was really... very, very heavy. I mean, they describe themselves as a rock band with heavier influences, but that's more metal to me. It started off with a bit of a rock feel to it at the very beginning of the song, but that was a very, very heavy track, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was very interesting, not at all what I was expecting. I liked that. Very, very good. And I liked the meaning behind it and the fact that they had that little tribute at the end of the video to Keith Flynn, Chester Bennington, and Chris Cornell, because obviously I don't need to explain what happened there, but, the song is very appropriate for, what happened with them, because they struggled with depression and unfortunately they ended up losing their lives. It is a very real problem, and unfortunately it's a problem that's getting bigger and bigger these days. And, for the most part, everybody seems to treat it as a taboo subject. No one wants to talk about depression. No one wants to be brought down by their friends talking to them about how they're struggling with depression. And, that's not helpful. If someone is struggling with depression, the most important thing to do is reach out to them and try to help them. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy thing to do. It's never a nice thing to see a friend go through major depression. It's not a nice thing, it's not an easy thing to deal with, but the most important thing is to be there to help them. Because if you leave them to go through it by themselves, chances are it's going to get worse, and as things get worse, the more of these sort of suicidal feelings can come to the surface. And some people hide it really, really well. I mean, you look at people like Robin Williams. You know, he suffered with severe depression for many, many years. But he was one of the funniest people in the world. He hid it so well. But look what happened. He took his own life. You know, it is really important, if someone is struggling, that you help them. And if you are struggling, if you are suffering with severe depression, reach out to someone. Try and talk to someone. Because it's so much easier with the help of a friend or a loved one to get through that sort of thing. You know, it's not going to be an instant cure. You know, you're not going to instantly feel better the moment you start talking to them. But talking to someone will help. You know, don't try and fight it by yourself. I've learned that myself. You know, I've made that mistake many, many times because, like I said, I shut myself off. I shut myself away from people. And more often than not, that's been the stupidest thing to do, but that's my instant natural instinct, is to lock myself away because I don't want to inflict my misery onto other people. But at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is talk to someone. So if you are suffering with depression or having a hard time, reach out to someone, please. I implore you. And if you are a friend of someone who is struggling and you see them struggling or they reach out to you, I beg of you to sit there, talk to them, try and help them. It's not going to be easy, but they need your help. And, should the worst thing happen and you were too busy to help them, that's going to bother you for the rest of your life. And that's something I can relate to as well, because many, many years ago, around this time of year, my best friend committed suicide because he was struggling with major depression and stuff like that, but he hid it so very, very well. However, the day that he did it, I saw him, I think it was the same day or maybe it was the day before I saw him, and I could see that he wasn't in a good place, but the thing is, I was late for work. So I couldn't stop, I couldn't talk to him. I just went on to work, and then I hear that, he's committed suicide. And, it's been a constant thing on my mind. If I'd stopped to talk to him, I was going to be late for work anyway. If I'd taken a moment to stop and talk to him, could I have made it any different? It's going to be something that plays on your mind. And, it's really important that you seek help or that you help someone who needs it. It's really important. But yeah, I think you can tell that the meaning behind the song really got to me. And yeah, fantastic piece of music. I really like that. I'd like to hear the rest of the album. From what I understand, I think it's a 6 or 7 track album. And like I said, it's the first of a 2-part project. So yeah, I'd really like to hear the rest of it. I'm going to have to seek that out and get my hands on a copy. Yeah, I'm going to leave that as it is for now, before I go on more of a thing. But yeah, we'll leave that as it is. Now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. You can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or even through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel and help me create future content, maybe even improve the quality of future content. There is also an option in there where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue. There are a couple of provisos on that, though, to be fair to other people who might suggest tracks through regular means. Now, if you do suggest a track through regular means, such as Facebook, Instagram, or comments below the video, do know that it might take me a while to get around to your suggestions, since I get suggested so many new tracks every single day that I can't keep up. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It's just going to take me a while to get there. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those aimed towards the people of the alternative culture. And it's something I think is very, very important, something I feel really, really passionate about, something that definitely needs more attention bringing to it. Because every single day, all over the world, people of the alternative community are getting violently attacked, brutally assaulted, just purely because of their taste in music. Now, I've had people argue with me before that this isn't a hate crime. It is. It's the very definition of a hate crime. You know, a hate crime is attacking someone because there is one specific trait about that person that you hate, and that is your reason, that is your excuse for your attack, either physical, verbal, whatever. If you are attacking somebody because you hate one specific attribute about that person, that is a hate crime. And if you're attacking someone because you hate the fact that they listen to alternative music, it is a hate crime. You know, and we hear about all these other things, all these other hate crimes, pretty much on a daily basis in all media. You know, whether it's sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, whatever it is, we hear about these every single day at all points of the spectrum, from the most violent and heinous crime where someone is murdered because of the colour of their skin or because of their sexual identity or sexual preference, down to the most pathetic of these crimes where entitled Karen is phoning the police because a family of colour are having a picnic in a public area. You know, we hear everything about these kinds of crimes, but we don't hear anything about these people that are getting violently assaulted, you know, brutally attacked, sometimes hospitalised, sometimes having bones broken, sometimes even more invasive injuries. We never hear about this, but this happens every single day all around the world. And the last time any of this was widely spoken about through media was 12 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and Rob Maltby were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people. They were brutally attacked, they were punched and kicked and had their heads stamped on so viciously, so violently, that they both ended up in a coma. Now, Rob Maltby, he thankfully survived. He came out of a coma after about a week or so, I can't remember exactly how long. But Sophie Lancaster was in a coma for 13 days. 2 weeks she was in a coma before she finally succumbed to her injuries. She was beaten so severely that she died. This girl, 20-year-old girl, was murdered because of her taste in music. I mean, how pathetic is that? You know, murdering someone because they like different music. I mean, it is ridiculous, but it happens all the time. And that was 12 years ago that this happened. And since then, we've not heard anything about this sort of thing happening. But I guarantee you, in the 12 years since that happened, hundreds if not thousands of people have been attacked in a similar way. We've just not heard anything about it because nobody's died, and that is disgusting. It shouldn't take someone's death for these crimes to be spoken about. Excuse me. You know, what happened to Sophie Lancaster was it was disgusting. It was appalling. And we can't let that ever happen again. It should never have happened in the first place. We can't wait for another person to die before this gets talked about again. You know, it shouldn't take that. We need to talk about it more. We need to bring it to the forefront and bring more attention to the fact that this is happening and do something about it. Because at the moment, the people who are perpetrating these crimes are essentially just getting away with it. And we can't allow that. You know, one of the people that actually murdered Sophie Lancaster, one of these guys that actually is responsible for her death, was sentenced to life in prison for murder. Since that happened, he's had his sentence reduced to 15.5 years, then to 14.5 years, and now he's eligible for parole this month. So he spent 12 years in prison, and they're getting ready to let him out after he murdered someone in cold blood over such a pathetic thing as her taste in music. It is unbelievable. You know, a life sentence should mean a life sentence. He took her life away from her. She is never going to get to grow up. She's never going to get to have kids. Why should he be allowed to live his life as a free man after murdering someone? It's unacceptable. But this is what we deal with. And that needs to stop. It needs to change. We cannot allow this sort of thing to keep happening. Just because we have a different taste in music doesn't mean we're not entitled to justice. Doesn't mean people are entitled to beat 7 shades out of us just because we listen to different music. It's unacceptable. It needs to stop. This is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that these attacks are happening and that nothing is getting done. They want something to start getting done about it. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks. So, yeah, if you'd like to know more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their end goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any way, a small donation through their website or something like one of these Sophie wristbands off their web store, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.